Welcome to another lecture video on LAW20023, Business Laws and Regulation. So, we will continue our discussion on the revised Corporation Code of the Philippines, the Public Act 11232, and particularly for this lecture video, we will discuss meetings, the meetings of the uh, Board of Directors, Board of Trustees, and the meetings conducted by the shareholders. So, dalawang grupo ng meetings to ha. But our discussion will be um, joint. No? Joint na yung discussion on both topics. So, actually, for the first portion, we will be comparing yung rules governing the meetings ng board at saka yung meetings ng stockholders. So, let's discuss. So, naka-table form siya. So, on the left side of the table, for the board of directors, so on the right side ay yung meetings ng mga stockholders. First, how do we determine the quorum? Now, for the board of directors, titignan may majority. When we say majority dyan, majority ng number na member ng board. So if 7 sila, majority will be 4. Kung 10 sila, majority will be 6. Ganun gumagana yung majority. Pag-determine ang quorum pagdating sa board of directors. So, kahit na medyo mataas pa, for example, yung interest ni board of director A sa corporation, hindi sapat na siya lang yung nandoon. Kailangan talaga yung quorum o majority ng membership ng board of directors ang present. So, sa stockholders, majority of the outstanding capital stock naman. Meaning, you have to take into consideration the percentage interest of the individual stockholder. So, hindi siya on a per head basis gaya ng sa board of directors. Per head yung bilang kung may quorum ba o wala. Pagdating sa stockholders, siya, interest-based yung pag-determine ng quorum. Okay, so kung meron kang outstanding capital stock na 1 million, dapat at least 500,001 ay represented. Next, date of the regular meeting. Ang board of directors, monthly yan as fixed by the bylaws. So, as fixed in the bylaws. So, meron sa bylaws nakalagay lang kung kailan ba ikakandak yung monthly na regular board meeting ng directors. While stockholders, hindi monthly. Napaka-costly kung monthly mo gagawin ang stockholders meeting. Annual ito. Annual on a date fixed in the bylaws or if not so fixed on any date after April 15 of every year as determined by the Board of Directors or Board of Trustees. So, merong amendment dito. Nakalagay na April 15, meron siyang specific na date na binanggit. Any date after April 15 of every year. Pinakamadali, maglagay na lang kayo doon sa bylaws niyo. Date of special meeting, walang rule, particularly for Board of Directors. Pagdating sa stockholders, meron. At any time din necessary or as provided in the bylaws. And I would, in practice, hindi naman yun na nangyayari sa industry. Ang special meetings ng Board of Directors are at any time. Siyempre, kaya nga siya special meeting. So, kung basta kailanganin o meron mga urgent matters or emergency matters which requires the approval ng Board of Directors, siyempre at any time as may be necessary or as may be provided by the bylaws. Now, prior to any regular meeting or special meeting, you have to notify the Board of Directors, the members of the Board of Directors, and the stockholders. So, for the Board of Directors, you only need to notify them 2 days before any regular or special meeting. While for stockholders meeting, you need to notify them 21 days. Amendment ito, 21 days prior to a regular meeting and 1 week or 1 week, equivalent to 7 days ito, prior to a special meeting. So 21 days for regular meeting, 1 week rather for special meeting. Saan kinakandak ang meeting? So for the meetings ng Board of Directors, anywhere siya. For stockholders, it must be conducted in the principal office of the corporation as indicated in the Articles of Incorporation, or if not practicable, in the city or municipality where the principal office of the corporation is located. Take note that any city or municipality in Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, Metro Davao, other metropolitan areas in the Philippines shall, for purposes of this section, be considered as a city or municipality. Meaning, ibig sabihin lang yan, if the registered um, place of business or principal office of business of a corporation that is Quezon City, it is acceptable to conduct the stockholders meeting in Makati. Sabihin mo, teka lang, magkaibang city yun. Totoo, magkaibang city yun. But for purposes of the place where the stockholders meeting is conducted, any city or municipality in Metro Manila or in Metro Cebu, in that case, or in Metro Davao, and other metropolitan areas shall be considered as one city, as cities or municipality. So, dami-dami na. For example, Mandaluyong, o part yun, or Las Piñas, part pa siya. Malabon, ganun siya. Proxy voting, if you will not be able to attend a meeting, you can send your representative, just make sure you issue a proxy in favor of that representative. That is not allowed pagdating sa board of directors. Syempre, merong qualifications required. Binoto kayo dyan. Tapos mapapadala ka lang pala ng ibang tao. If you are not interested in attending naman the board of directors, don't run. Huwag ka ng mga kumandidato doon sa pagka-miyembro ng board of directors. If every time that magpapatawag ng meeting yung board of directors, nagpapaproxy ka lang naman. Don't, na lang. No? Dahil hindi naman actually allowed yan. Pagdating sa stockholders, allowed ang proxy voting. And voting requirement. So, board of directors, so majority of those present. Ibig sabihin, kung quorum yung umaten, majority of the quorum. Pero hindi naman required na quorum lang, sakto yung umaten. Kunyari, ang umaten ay yun, lahat, 100% yung attendance. Then, para magkaroon ng valid action yung board of directors, kunyari, 10 sila. Para magkaroon ng quorum, 6 kailangan umaten. Kung sakaling 6 yung aaten, kung merong proposed act, 4 dapat yung bumoto doon sa proposed act na yun. 10, quorum 6. Bago mag-start yung meeting, they have to determine kung may quorum o wala. Pag sabi walang quorum, we cannot proceed. Let us adjourn. Kasi walang quorum. Pero kung 10 yan, 6 yung umaten, then may quorum. Sabihin ng chairman, you can proceed. Sabi niya, according to the corporate secretary, there is a quorum, you can proceed. So, 6 sila ngayon. If 6 niya, may proposed act, sabi ng isa, propose ko construction of a building. Sabi ng proposal. Do you approve? 4 yung nag-approve. Okay na yun. Approve yung act na yun. Kahit hindi umagray yung dalawa. Kasi majority yung 4 nung quorum na umaten. Okay. What is 10 sila? 10 yung board of directors. Ilan yung quorum? 6 lang. Perfect attendance. Lahat ng 10 umaten. Tapos may proposal yung isa, sabi, since perfect attendance tayo, obviously may quorum, we can start with the meeting. May proposal yung isa, sabi niya, okay, I propose na magpatayo ng building or i-repair yung building, etc. etc. Yan yung kailangan mag-approve. 6. Bakit 6? Kasi 10 sila present eh. Sa 6 kailangan. Hindi majority ng quorum. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na 10 present, tas 4 lang yung mag-approve. Okay na, mali yun. 4 lang kung 6 yung present. Since all of the 10 members ng board of directors ay present, syempre may quorum yun. Obviously may quorum. Any proposal submitted for approval in that meeting na 10 silang umaten will require an affirmative vote of 6 members of the board for it to be approved. Okay? Except election of corporate officers where majority of all the members of the board is required. Hindi lang quorum. Dapat lahat sila. And when the bylaws provide for higher voting requirement. As indicated, as discussed before, ang bylaws ay internal rules ng corporation. If they want na mas mataas yung voting requirement, then bahala sila. Yung nilagay nila internal rules nila yun. Stockholders refer to the summary of voting requirements. So for the approval of actions which require concurrence from the stockholders, so balikan nyo na lang ulit-ulit to. Kaya importante yan. Dapat alam nyo yung mga nagre-require ng majority vote ng board of directors and then 2/3 on the part of the stockholders. Majority on the part of the directors, majority on the part of the stockholders. Merong mga actions na part ng stockholders 2/3 and then majority stockholders. Ganun lang naman yan. So, What if merong defect? No? Validity of stockholders meetings despite defect. The meeting is still considered valid even if improperly held, as long as all of the stockholders or members are present or duly represented by way of proxy, except if the purpose of their attendance is only object to the transaction of any business because the meeting is not lawfully called or convened. Is okay. For example, may kulang na notice. Nakalagay doon dapat ang notice 21 days or 1 week. Kinulang ng araw. Instead of 21, 20 lang. So effective, technically defective yun. Kasi 21 yung nire-require ng batas 20 lang yung kakulang. Pero nagtuloy pa rin yung meeting. Okay. Mararatify, it's not the first time we will use the term ratify. Mararatify, ibig sabihin, pwede ng isang tabi, pwede natin kalimutan yung defect na yon dun sa notice, yung 21 days or 1 week, for example, in case of special meeting, pwede natin tanggalin yun, kalimutan yung 1 day na yun. If lahat ay present or duly represented. Andito naman tayong lahat, di ba? So, okay na yun. Limutan na natin yun. Valid pa rin itong ating meeting. Except if the very purpose of their attendance to that meeting is to object to the validity. Diba, umattend ako for example, hindi ba din sabihin ng isa, present tayong lahat, kalimutan na natin yung defect doon sa notice. Hindi pwede mong sabihin na kaya ako nandito is particularly and specifically to object to the validity of this meeting. Kasi kulang kayo ng araw. Andito ako para i-object, no? Para questionin. Hindi para sabihin na magtuloy tayo. Kasi iba pwede itong pumunta doon, wala mas lang objection doon sa improper number of days. No? Kulang yung araw, improper yung notice, walang agenda. For example, ganun. Tumuloy pa rin sila and they are not objecting to the procedural defect. Ano bang mangyayari sa meeting na ito? Ituloy na natin. Total, naka-receive naman kami ng notice. Although kinulang nga lang sa araw. Tuloy natin. Magiging valid pa rin kasi they are ratifying the defect. Pero kung yung pagpunta nila doon ay, ba't pumunta ako dito kasi para sabihin na invalid tong meeting na to. Pumunta ako dito para sabihin na kulang yung araw, walang agenda, walang notice, etc. Mali yung lugar. No? Ba't tayo napunta sa Laguna? Hindi naman part ng Metropolitan Manila yung Laguna. Mga ganon, no? Pwede mong erase yan. And you will not, hindi pa waive yung karapatan mo to question the validity of the meeting even if all are present. Okay. Other amendments. Ito yung mga amendments introduced by the recent amendments to the corporation code. Notice of meetings can now be sent through electronic means. So dati kasi wala ito. So you can now send it through email, no? And shall be accompanied by, syempre, as if a regular notice siya, ginawa mo lang electronic. So it must include the agenda for the meeting, but 1 plus B, plus C, plus 4, ang gulo. Ba't ganito ako gumawa ng antok na ata ako nung ginawa ko to, 1B, C, plus 4. Anyway, the agenda. And then proxy form, if inform mo sila syempre dun sa notice na if you're not able to attend, you can fill up the attached proxy. Yan, may attached proxy dito. When attendance, participation, and voting are allowed by remote communication or in absentia, the requirements and procedure to be followed when a stockholder member elects either option. So, ito, kasi under the dating corporation code, walang remote communication or in absentia. So, walang remote participation. You have to be present or you have to send a proxy. But pursuant to the amendments to the corporation code, which is now the revised corporation code, you can now participate remotely. Kasi naman yung technology ngayon, in-acknowledge ng batas natin na meron ng technology for remote participation para hindi mo na kailangan mag-travel, dagdag ka pa sa traffic, dagdag ka pa sa volume ng sasakyan, manatili ka dyan sa bahay mo, if you can attend by remote participation, then do it. Nung gawin mo na, tipid pa yan sa gastusin ng korporasyon kasi nandiyan ka sa bahay mo, less pagkain. Totoo sa sarili ko. So, if available yung option na yun, no, to participate remotely, then you have to provide the guidelines. O meron pong available po ang remote participation, ganito yung gagawin ko. Zoom siya or MS Teams siya or Google Meet siya or whatever, WebEx, Cisco WebEx. Ganito siya gagawin. So you have to provide the guidelines for that if available. And when the meeting is for the election of directors and trustees, the requirements and procedure for the nomination and election. So if part of the agenda is the election of directors and trustees, then dapat ma-inform mo sila in advance kung paano ba yung process ng nomination and election. Election by ballot ba to? Election by raising of hands, etc. etc. Ganun yung mangyayari. Hindi yung on the day itself ng meeting sa ako palang sasabihin sa kanila, ganito yung gagawin natin, magkakagulo yun. Magsasayang kayo ng araw para lang i-determine kung paano ba yung procedure na nomination and election. Okay. We still have other amendments here. Unless the bylaws provide for a longer period, the stock and transfer book or membership book shall be closed at least 20 days for regular meetings and 7 days for special meetings before the scheduled date of the meeting. So, kasi minsan, may mga humahabol na naging membro lang sila or naging stockholder lang sila the day before the meeting. Then, nagkakaroon sila ng certain control, ganyan. Nagiging controversial pa yung parang midnight appointment kung baga. Bigla ka na lang sumulpot dito, you don't even know the nature of the corporation, etc. etc. So ngayon, under the amendments, meron siyang the lack of period kung baga. So bago yung date ng regular meeting, 20 days sarado yung stock and transfer book. Ibig sabihin, walang magbebenta ng shares nila, walang bibili ng panibagong shares. So kung sino, yung mga stockholders on record 20 days prior to irregular meeting, sila yung entitled to attend the stockholders meeting. So kung special meeting naman yung 7 days prior to the special meeting, i-close yung books, no? At sila lang yung pwedeng umattend. Postponement can be validly made if there is a notice of at least 2 weeks prior to the meeting. So kapag syempre regular meeting lang to. Kasi pag special meeting, paano mo siya ipopostpone 2 weeks before? Diba? Paano mga special meetings? So for regular meetings, pwede mo siyang i-postpone 2 weeks prior to the meeting. Voting in absentia or through remote communication is now allowed. Binanggit ko sa inyo. Pag sinabing in absentia, you are voting somewhere else. No? Hindi ka nagpapadala. Kasi voting by proxy, hindi ka makaka-attend, may pupunta para sa'yo. Bibigyan mo siya ng proxy form. Pag voting in absentia, gusto mo mag-participate, hindi mo gustong i-delegate sa ibang tao, pero wala ka dun sa place of meeting, nasa ibang lugar ka. So doon mo gagawin in absentia ka. Pag remote communication, you are present there. May nakapas, may tawag dito, may technology na naka-install para nakikita ka nila, nakikita mo rin sila. Yung remote communication. A director, trustee, stockholder, or member may propose any other matter for inclusion in the agenda at any regular or special meeting. Actually, yun ang nakailangan tong ilagay pa as amendment in the corporation code natin kasi in practice, nakalagay na yan dun sa baba. Other matters nakalagay sa agenda. Sa agenda 1, ganyan, determination of quorum. Agenda 2, approval of the minutes before. Agenda 3, ganyan. Let's say, President's report or report from the Finance Committee, ganyan, report from the Audit Committee, report from the Operations Committee, etc. etc. Ganun yung nangyayari. So meron siyang, syempre under the Finance Committee may mga proposal. So, proposal to write off the receivable, proposal to declare dividends, proposal to etc. etc. Proposal to increase the compensation. Mga ganun. Proposal. So, bandang dulo niyan, other matters. So, magkatanong yung chairman, do you have any other matters na ipopropose ninyo? Mag-form part ng agenda natin for today. Ina-entertain naman yun and it's considered valid pa rin naman. Pero ngayon, through legislation, nakalagay na siya as part of our law. In the stockholders meeting for the election of directors or trustees, Section 23 of the Revised Corporation Code now allows the stockholders or members to vote through remote communication or in absentia. Binanggit ko na yon, or in case the bylaws or majority of the board authorize the same, or even without such authorization in case of corporations vested with public interest. A stockholder or member who participates through remote communication or in absentia shall be deemed present for purposes of quorum. So kahit wala siya doon physically or through proxy, kasi before the amendment, For purposes of quorum, ang binibilang lang ay yung mga present physically or those who have attended through a proxy. Now, because of the amendment introduced by the Vice in the corporation code natin, even if you are not physically present there or even if you are not present by proxy, you are not represented by proxy, counted ka pa rin if you will be attending or participating through remote communication or in absentia. Counted ka for purposes of quorum. General waivers of notice in the articles of incorporation or the bylaws shall not be allowed. Hindi pwedeng nakalagay lang doon, we waive the notice. Hindi pwedeng ganun. Directors or trustees are allowed to attend the meetings through remote communication such as video conferencing, teleconferencing, and other alternative modes of communication that allow them reasonable opportunity to participate. Baka naman, pina-attend mo nga sila, wala mo sila marinig. Pina-attend mo, walang makita. Pina-attend mo through remote communication pero walang soft copy ng documents. Meron mga pinag-uusapan about documents doon, hindi naman naka-project sa screen. Paano nila malalaman? Paano sila makakapag-actively participate and intelligently participate, no? They have no idea kung ano nangyayari. So dapat merong reasonable opportunity to participate. Hindi yung pina-attend mo, quote unquote, pina-attend mo lang siya pero wala namang kwenta yung pagpapa-attend mo sa kanya. Directors or trustees cannot attend or vote by proxy at board meetings kasi nga binoto ka nila dyan, merong qualifications required. So hindi mo pwedeng ipasa yung authority na binigay sa'yo. A director or trustee who has potential interest in any related party transaction must recuse from voting on the approval of the related party transactions without prejudice to the compliance with the requirements for self-dealing director. So we have discussed that before. Yung self-dealing director, may mga questions tayo, yung vote, yung presence niya ba is required to constitute a quorum, yung vote niya ba is required for the approval of the proposal of the contract. Pero the best thing to do is to recuse, no? Para inhibit ka. No? I will not participate in this transaction since I am a party to this transaction. So that's it. No? Yun lang naman yung mga kailangan ninyong malaman for meetings of stockholders and meetings of board of directors or board of trustees. Okay? Thank you for listening to this lecture video. If you have questions, you can post them in the comment section. Or parang vlogger talaga, no? Or if you want, you can send a message through your president, class president. Or if you want it to be personal, you can send it through our private MS Teams classroom. So again, thank you and see you on the next lecture video. Goodbye.